And now we hear from the victorious warrior, the revolutionary, who is going to give us even more of his time. And I can tell you, there are times I don't want to bother him, I don't want to call him. He says, no, you don't understand. This gives me life. This gives me life. And he's working and gives me life. Would you now please welcome our revolutionary comrade, brother, Don Rojas. Don Rojas.
Dear sisters and brothers, colleagues, friends, and comrades, good evening to all. I am truly humbled and honored, indeed overwhelmed by your outpouring of love, support, and solidarity tonight. I am sure that on a fine spring Saturday afternoon, you could easily find other things to do and other places to be, but instead, you chose to come to this historic Brooklyn church and to participate in this uplifting and inspirational event. To all of those who have reached into your wallets to contribute to this fundraising benefit, let me express my most sincere gratitude and assure you that every dollar of financial support is a dollar less that we have to pay for very expensive anti-cancer medications that are not covered by medical insurance. To cite just one example, a single chemotherapy drug that I've been taking every 21 days costs $18,000, or close to $1,000 per pill. Yes, that's correct, a single drug. And I am on a therapy protocol that requires the taking of many other drugs. After months of chemotherapy supplemented with a range of compatible medical and natural therapies, including weekly acupuncture sessions with my daughter-in-law, Sharon Jennings Rojas, an expert in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctors have told me that I am about to enter the early stages of remission. But the treatment protocols will continue for the entire period of remission. And that could be months, or God willing, could be years. However, remission is not a cure. There is no cure for cancer. Not yet, anyway. A properly managed remission protocol simply buys us some more time in this ongoing battle. It staves off the inevitable. In between the regular chemo treatments and the daily drugs and their many debilitating side effects, one of which is constant dripping from my nose. You probably have seen me rubbing my nose. That's one of the side effects of the drugs that are in my system. In between those daily drugs and the debilitating effects, one has to deal with the fatigue, the anxiety, the depression that all cancer patients face each day. Nonetheless, I try to take time for self-reflection and meditation. Cancer is a monstrous affliction filled with pain, anguish, and hardship. In political terms, I liken cancer to a form of imperial aggression, an uninvited intruder that invades and occupies innocent bodies. Bodies that are living, breathing organisms whose fundamental logic is to affirm and advance life in all its beauty and diversity. But cancer never leaves you. Its occupation is permanent. It tests one's faith and challenges one's capacity to keep hope alive. And in those private moments of solitude, thoughts turn to one's own mortality and to the meaning of life. But there are also key lessons I have learned about, and my wife, my companion, alluded to it earlier in her comments. Patience, tolerance, two qualities that I don't possess in abundance. And humility. And about the awesome power of unconditional love, compassion, and service to those who need and to those less fortunate. Among the tough lessons that my cancer-based reflections have reminded me of is that servant leaders like us must make the sacrifices, the most sacrifices, while avoiding arrogance and pomposity. Selfless public service will always have more long-term benefits than our self-centered agendas. As Martin Luther King, Amilcar Cabral, Maurice Bishop, and several of our historical heroes have taught us, the masses of our people are the real drivers and makers of historical transformations, not this or that great leader, quote unquote. I will never forget the last words Maurice Bishop said to me mere minutes before his assassination. And you heard from my oldest son, Maceo, about this earlier. He said to me, Don, go to the telephone office and get the word out to the world. This is what he said. Tell the world that those criminals will turn their guns on the masses. I did it as he told me. And I made the first set of regional and international calls, alerting the world to the counter-revolution that was going on that fateful day in October 1983. Let me pause the philosophical musings and the historical memories for a moment, sisters and brothers, and return to heartfelt expressions of gratitude. And bear with me. To so many who are with us tonight and who have contributed immeasurably to the success of this event. To the countless souls across the country and the world who have added my name to their prayer circles. Folks who I probably never see or meet in this life. I say thank you to all the generous souls who have made monetary contributions to our GoFundMe campaign. Many, many, many people leaving notes of inspiration on the webpage. I say to all of you, thank you. Thank you. To all the speakers and to those who sent audio and video messages, thank you for your words of wisdom and for your resolve to continue the struggle for a better world for our people. Thanks to Danny Glover, David Abdullah, Marine Shepherd, David Kamijian, Michael McEachran, and others. To Brother Ta-Nehisi Coates, many thanks for sending your greetings. And heartfelt thanks, of course, also go out to Comrade Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who called me as we were driving up from Baltimore to New York on the cell phone, just to express to me his regret that he was not able to be here physically, to be here present with us this evening, but that his able ambassador Rhonda King will represent him. And thank you, Sister King, for your kind words this evening. To Reverends Herb and Karen Daughtry, and the entire congregation of the House of the Lord's Church, thank you for opening up the doors of this venerable community institution to all of us. We are honored to be back at a pillar of Brooklyn's Black community, a cherished shrine that has birthed so many racial and social justice movements over the years. Of which I have had the honor to be a member of the founding team of some of these movements. To Reverend Herb and Karen Daughtry, thank you for your many years of service to New York's Black communities. You are both indispensable assets to our movement. To my brother and comrade, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who traveled all the way from the Caribbean to join us. Thank you, my brother, for your brilliant presentation. And for your steadfast leadership in the global reparations movement. And congratulations to you and your leadership team that has catapulted the University of the West Indies into the highest stratas of higher education in the entire world. Congratulations. And asante sana to you for the opportunity to be part of the birthing of the University of the West Indies Television Network. To Maria Mendes France Fanon, daughter of the great revolutionary and Pan-Africanist France Fanon, a proud son of Martinique in our Caribbean, thank you for traveling across the Atlantic Ocean to be with us this evening. Your father's classic book, Wretched of the Earth, was one of the books that helped to shape my politics back in the 1960s and 1970s. And I commend you, Sister Miriam, for your consistent and principled work as an international human rights expert, lifting up the critical importance of this, the United Nations declared decade for the people of African descent, and for your ongoing contributions to the global reparations movement. To my dear friend and comrade of many years, going back to our days as college roommates, one of the great political economists that the Caribbean that my generation has produced, you traveled all the way from Jamaica to be here with us tonight. Thank you to Dr. Michael Witter. Michael, stand and be recognized, my brother, please. To Assemblyman Charles Barron, thank you for coming and for the wonderful citation from the New York State Assembly. I am truly honored. You and your wife, represent an unbroken revolutionary legacy from the Black Panthers in the 1960s, the 1970s, to the state assemblies and the city councils of today. They have never compromised on their revolutionary principles, and I thank them for that. To Dr. Ron Daniels, master organizer and visionary. Thank you for your wise leadership of the Institute of the Black World and for your pioneering efforts at the convening helm of the National African American Reparations Commission. Now that you have retired from the academic world, you carry the distinction of Professor Emeritus at the City University of New York, but we know that deep in your heart of hearts, you are an activist, a Pan-Africanist, a seasoned veteran who has always been there for our people. Thank you, my brother. To Herb Boyd, where is my brother Herb? To Herb Boyd and to his wife, Elsa. You are my big brother, you're my friend, my comrade in arms, in so many battles over the years. You are truly one of America's greatest authors. One of the most prolific journalists that our people have produced. Thank you, brother man, for all of the organizing efforts you have invested in making tonight's event a success. And most importantly, thank you for your friendship to me and to my family, to the entire Rojas family, over many, many years. You will always, to use your own words, you will always be my brother by another mother. And thanks to all the sisters and brothers who volunteered to serve with her and with Maurice, Sister Nkichi, Sister Rojas, Brother Lenny, Brother Rick, Brother Maurice, Brother Jamil, and many others. And finally, to my beloved family, my 4 children, my 8 grandchildren, several of whom are here with us this evening. Please, my dear grandchildren who are here, stand and be recognized. Thank you to my family for standing shoulder to shoulder with me as I traveled this long and winding road of activism over all these years. Thanks for your unconditional love, your loyalty, your patience, your understanding, your discipline. You, collectively, are the ultimate pride of my life. And allow me on this eve of Mother's Day to send a very special word of gratitude this evening to my companion, my partner, my friend, and devoted wife for 45 years, and my main caregiver, Karen Marcia Codrington Rojas. You continue to be my anchor and my main. You continue to be my anchor and my rock of Gibraltar. You have put up with all my faults and foibles over these many years, mothered our children and our grandchildren in exemplary fashion, which support with tenderness and unconditional love. I love and admire your strength of character. You inspire me every day. Thank you for being the wind beneath my wings. I love you with all my strength. Sisters and brothers, friends and comrades, please bear with me for a few more minutes. I have a couple of burning concerns that I'd like to get off my chest tonight. And I want to speak to you like the radical that I think and hope I am. And who knows? What the consequences could be from what I'm about to say. But I am ready and prepared to deal with whatever the negative consequences could be. At this moment in history, we find ourselves at a crucial juncture in the road. One at which the structures of liberation, structures and institutions of authoritarianism are contesting each other on a global stage to shape what the future would look like. This is a global response to the deepening crisis of modern-day capitalism and its empire. This is a titanic struggle between those who are ready, like us, to boldly step into the future, to shape human society into one where truly democratic principles and practices prevail, against those in the Western Hemisphere who have been duped by the lies and the tricks of a toxic social disease we call Trumpism. A political and cultural phenomenon rooted in the sordid mix of white supremacist ideologies, manufactured lies, fake news, and rank opportunism. This phenomenon is bent on cowardly turning back the hands of time to, quote, make America great again, through the exercise of wanton dictatorial control over all of the organs of the capitalist state. Trump's fixation with reversing whatever legacy President Barack Obama left a couple years ago borders on the pathological and is profoundly racist. You all are here to support my own fight against cancer, and for that effort I will be eternally grateful. But there is a much more dangerous social cancer that needs our urgent collective attention. One that is nothing short of mass terrorism directed at black and brown people. This social cancer of Trumpism has metastasized and has infected every organ of the American body politic. Trumpism is the great white supremacy experiment of the 21st century. And its basic playbook is the warped ideology of fascism, as was attempted in the 20th century by Hitler in Germany, Mussolini in France, Franco in Spain, Batista in Cuba, and other so-called strongmen. I'm not trying to be alarmist, folks, but fascism is once again on the march, not only in Europe, but also throughout the Americas, from Washington, D.C., to Brazil, to Chile, to Argentina, and other Latin countries. And it is making serious inroads into respectable institutions right here inside of the United States of America. And Trump is a protector and a defender of these new American fascists. Himself, a man without a moral compass, no soul, no defined ideology, no loyalty to anyone or any set of ideas, no conviction to anything beyond his narcissistic and egotistical needs. He is one of history's great frauds in a country filled with con men. This megalomaniac stands on top of that pile of trash as America's con artist in chief. Yet sadly, a small percentage of black and brown people have fallen for Trump's tricks and lies. I'm pretty confident that the ancestors will deal with these lackeys when the time comes. From the very beginnings in this country, white supremacy provided the ideological underpinnings of slavery. The rallying slogans of today's fascist right wing, "Make America Great Again," "America First," etc., are premised on hatred for the other, especially for black and brown people, all of whom these racists label as mud people. That's what they call us. That's what the Ku Klux Klan refers to us as, mud people, who have been punished by God and the Christian Bible. As wannabe dictator Trump nods, winks, and tweets to these hate mongers who have falsely claimed the white race-based authority, the white supremacists here feel even ever more emboldened to use hatred of the other as their weapon of choice these days, especially against non-white and non-Christian people. To all the writers and journalists among us tonight, let me say that white supremacy even hates memory. It hates history. It hates truth. It hates objective facts. And we, whose weapons are pens, not guns, those of us who fight for reparatory justice, those of us who dream of a truly fair society and a just economy, must never forget those billions, and I say billions with a B, those billions of black and brown people of all the continents of the globe who work hard each day, yet are robbed by the ruling elites of the wealth and the value that our sisters and brothers around the world create with their blood, their sweat, and their tears. Yes, indeed, we writers and journalists have a sacred duty to tell the inconvenient truths of history to our people and to the world. And chief among these inconvenient truths are the living legacies of enslavement as manifested in the rapidly growing social and economic disparities in the United States, the Caribbean, and Latin America. And on an evening when we are talking about reparations, there is no denying that slave trading gave birth to the capitalist mode of production, and that the warped and sick ideas of white supremacy were used by the rising bourgeois classes in Europe and America, by believers of the so-called free market, by respected scientists, politicians, academics, clergymen, even the monarchy and the nobility, to morally and spiritually justify the hideous crimes of slavery. Over time, and over many generations, the sick ideas of white supremacy have become embedded into the very DNA of every major social, political, economic, legal, and clerical institution and structure in American society. The stolen labor of enslaved Africans remains a debt America owes to their descendants. And this enormous historical debt can never be accurately measured in pounds or dollars or francs. So we are clear, sisters and brothers, the historical debt owed to us has not been paid. The physical and psychological damages, the collective trauma that has been passed on from one generation to the next have not been repaired. Reparations is undoubtedly the most powerful moral issue of our times. And we welcome the expressed interest in the topic on the part of many mainstream politicians who have called for a national discussion on slavery reparations. Engagement with the reparations movement will educate the masses of our people that white supremacy and its proponents are the real terrorists in our midst. And these are people who are born, bred, and miseducated right here in the home of baseball, motherhood, and apple pie. Fellow writers, journalists, and documentarians, we must place the consequences of the transatlantic slave trade at the center of our analysis of the social cancer we call Trumpism. We must continue to play a key role in shaping the public narrative and the popular conversation around reparations. And in so doing, continue to champion the new and updated version of the legendary Congressman Carney's H.R. 40 bill in the U.S. Congress. And this new version, which is being led by Congresswoman Shirley Jackson Lee of Texas, calls for remedies, not just studies, of the living legacies of African enslavement in the United States. The time for action-oriented reparations is now. Let us seize the time. Finally, sisters and brothers, friends and comrades, I pledge to you all this evening to be by your side as together we fight against the interrelated social cancers of Trumpism, globalized white supremacy, neoliberalism, and austerity forced onto the backs of working people everywhere. I may not always be on the front lines with you in the weeks and months ahead, but I'll always be there behind the scenes, offering my unqualified support as I continue to fight my own battle against cancer. Remember, the fight against empire, the fight for truth and righteousness is heating up, and we all need to get on board. Join us as we continue to fight for reparations in the United States, the Caribbean, and the Americas writ large. Add your voices in support of the revised H.R. 40 bill, which is now picking up momentum in the U.S. Congress. In wrapping up, my conscience dictates that I dig deep down and tap into some of that radical energy that I believe still resides in my soul. And find a militant voice to say to the Trumps and the Boltons and the Pompeos and the other hawks, quit banging the drums of war in the Caribbean and Latin America. Stop with the bellicose stretch towards Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Hands off the Cuban Revolution. Tonight, I call on the political leaders of the Caribbean to reject any revival of the Monroe Doctrine, to defend the sacred principle of self-determination, and to oppose any and all attempts by Trump and his cohorts to to interfere in the domestic affairs of our sovereign states. Don't be bamboozled into accepting the false promises of Trumpism. Stand firm and defend the Caribbean's right to be recognized and treated as a zone of peace. Something that Maurice Bishop believed in with all the strength of his convictions. I call on all of our scholars and writers and activists here and across the Black world to step up the production of intellectual critiques of neoliberal orthodoxy. Such a comprehensive and ongoing analysis of the false values and the discredited logic of capitalism today must address the political economy of slavery, and in so doing, we will act out the imperatives of reparatory justice. Sad to say, but we are living in dark and scary times. Despairing as it may be, we simply do not have the luxury to batten down the hatches and ride out Hurricane Trump. These troubled times call for us to be proactive, to resist, to push back against the onslaught of white supremacy in all of its odious manifestations. And when we fight together as a well-coordinated and disciplined global movement, we will win. We will advance, and we will surely please the ancestors in whose name we struggle. Asante sana to all of you again for your generous support, your solidarity, and for the beautiful vibrations that you have brought to this historic church this evening. I leave you tonight with utterances from one of my favorite prayers, one of which I find great solace, especially in moments of reflection and meditation. God, grant me this serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Long live the reparations movement. Long live the power of our people. Long live the spirit of Maurice Bishop and all of our people's martyrs. Long live the House of the Lord Church. Forward ever, backward never. Thank you, Sister Rojas.
Rojas, one of the great orations I've ever heard delivered here tonight at the House of the Lord Church. Forward ever, forward ever, forward ever. Well, those who stay to the end.